The storm encounter. Thunder crashed across the darkened sky as rain hammered the forest floor without mercy. The storm had claimed the night, wrapping the landscape in shadows pierced only by brief lightning flashes. Deep within the towering canopy, a lone figure pushed through the undergrowth, her breathing steady despite the treacherous terrain. Evelyn Carter had been tracking for 3 days straight. Her boots sank into the waterlogged earth as she swept the area with her scanner, its blue glow dancing across rain-slicked tree bark. The device pulsed with a faint but unmistakable energy signature. Whatever she was hunting was close. She pulled her hood down further, rain streaming off the edges as she carefully stepped over a fallen log. The familiar scent of wet earth mixed with something else, something metallic that made her skin crawl. "Come on," she whispered, squinting at the scanner readings. Then she saw it. At first, it looked like nothing more than a shadow against the massive tree roots. But as she crept closer, the shape resolved into something impossible, a large form curled against the trunk, a long tail half buried in mud, scales catching faint glints of scanner light. A dragon. Evelyn's heart hammered against her ribs. She'd heard the stories, the legends of winged beasts from ancient wars. Once worshipped, now hunted to extinction. Finding one alive on this remote world should have been impossible. Yet there it was. The creature barely stirred as she approached. Its breathing came in ragged gasps, each exhale shuddering through its massive frame. Deep wounds carved through its body, scales torn and bloodied as if it had barely escaped a vicious attack. Dark, luminescent blood seeped into the mud beneath it. Evelyn hesitated, caught between wonder and alarm. "You're not supposed to exist," she whispered. A golden eye fluttered open, locking onto her with weary intensity. Then it spoke. "Help me," it rasped. The words hit her like lightning. Not only was it alive, it was intelligent, desperate, and asking for her help. Evelyn didn't think twice. She dropped to her knees beside the dragon, her hands hovering over its battered form. Up close, the injuries were devastating, deep gashes along its ribs, torn wing membranes, and a jagged wound across its flank that wouldn't stop bleeding. "I need to stop this bleeding," she muttered, setting down her scanner. "You're lucky I came prepared." The dragon let out a slow, wheezing breath. "Lucky," it echoed, voice raw with pain. From her pack, Evelyn pulled out medical supplies meant for humanoids, but they would have to work. She reached for a coagulant patch, then paused. "This is going to hurt," she warned. The dragon managed what almost sounded like a laugh. "Do it." She pressed the patch to the worst wound. The dragon flinched, a deep rumble shaking its chest, but it didn't strike out. Slowly, carefully, Evelyn worked to seal the gashes, cleaning away blood where she could. "What happened to you?" she asked as she worked. Silence stretched between them before the dragon answered. "Hunters." Evelyn frowned. "Poachers?" "More than that," it rasped. "They want us gone. All of us." The word sent ice through her veins. She'd heard whispers of dragons being hunted to extinction, their bodies worth fortunes on the black market. But seeing this wounded creature made it brutally real. She met its golden gaze. "I won't let them find you." Something flickered in the dragon's eye, doubt, hope, she couldn't tell which. After finishing with the wounds, Evelyn sat back on her heels. Rain continued to soak her to the bone, but she barely noticed. "We can't stay here. Those hunters might still be tracking you. My ship isn't far, if you can walk, I can get you out." The dragon didn't answer immediately. Then, with visible effort, it began to shift. Muscles bunched beneath torn scales as it struggled to rise. Its limbs trembled, and for a moment Evelyn thought it might collapse. But with determination that took her breath away, it stood. "Can you fly?" she asked. The dragon's wings twitched but remained folded. "Not yet," it admitted. "Then we walk." Hunters in the dark. The journey to Evelyn's ship was agonizing. The dragon limped beside her, each step a testament to its will to survive. Evelyn kept her ears sharp, listening for any sign of pursuit through the storm's chaos. The rain masked their movement but also concealed potential threats lurking in the darkness. After what felt like hours, the tree line finally broke, revealing a clearing where her ship waited. Its sleek hull reflected the dim glow of landing beacons, a beacon of hope in the storm. Almost there, Evelyn sighed with relief. The dragon paused, staring at the vessel. "You would take me with you?" "Of course," she replied without hesitation. Another long silence passed before the dragon lowered its head slightly, almost like a bow. "I am Kaler." Evelyn blinked in surprise. "A name. Nice to meet you, Kaler." She stepped forward to input the ship's access code. "Let's get you inside before." A sharp crack split the air. Evelyn barely had time to react as a searing plasma bolt whistled past her shoulder, missing by inches. "Snipers," she yelled. Kaler let out a deep growl, stepping protectively in front of her despite his injuries. His torn wings flared instinctively as Evelyn spun around, heart racing, reaching for her sidearm. From the darkness emerged figures in tactical gear, their weapons trained on them. The lead hunter, a tall woman with cold eyes, stepped into the clearing's dim light. "Step away from the creature," she commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed. "It's wounded," Evelyn protested, not moving. "It needs medical attention." The hunter's smile was sharp and merciless. "It needs to be eliminated. That thing is worth more dead than alive, and you're interfering with a sanctioned hunt." "Sanctioned by whom?" Evelyn demanded. "By those who understand the threat these beasts pose to galactic security." The hunter's finger tightened on her weapon's trigger. "Now move, or be eliminated with it." Kaler's muscles tensed beneath his scales. Despite his injuries, Evelyn could sense power coiled within him, waiting to be unleashed. "You won't get both of us," Kaler rumbled, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. The hunter laughed. "We don't need to. The bounty pays the same for your corpse." That's when Evelyn noticed the other hunters spreading out, surrounding them. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but she wasn't about to let them murder Kaler. "The ship," she whispered to Kaler. "Can you make it to the ship?" "Not without you," he replied. "Together then." The hunter raised her weapon. "Enough talk." Before she could fire, Kaler roared, a sound that shook the very ground beneath their feet. The hunters hesitated for just a moment, but it was enough. Evelyn dove toward the ship's entrance while Kaler, despite his injuries, lunged forward with surprising speed. Plasma bolts lit up the clearing as chaos erupted. Kaler's claws found their mark on the nearest hunter while Evelyn scrambled to activate the ship's defensive systems. The engines roared to life, casting everything in brilliant light. "Kaler," she shouted over the noise. The dragon fought with desperate fury, but she could see his strength failing. More hunters emerged from the forest, their weapons trained on him. "Go!" Kaler called out, pain evident in his voice. "Get to safety." "Not without you." Evelyn returned fire, her shots forcing the hunters to take cover. In that moment of chaos, Kaler made his choice. With a massive effort, he leaped toward the ship, his powerful legs carrying him across the clearing even as plasma fire seared the air around him. Evelyn grabbed him as he collapsed at the ship's entrance, pulling him inside as the ramp began to close. The hunter's shot sparked harmlessly off the hull as the ship lifted off, leaving the clearing and its dangers behind. But as they climbed into the storm-darkened sky, Evelyn realized their escape was only the beginning. The hunters had found them once, they would find them again. And next time, they might not be so lucky. Betrayal and escape. The ship's medical bay hummed with activity as Evelyn worked to properly treat Kaler's wounds. The dragon lay still on the reinforced examination table she'd quickly modified to support his weight, his breathing more stable now that they were safe. "The hunters," Kaler said weakly as she applied a fresh bandage to his flank. "They knew exactly where to find me. Evelyn paused in her work. What do you mean? I wasn't just fleeing randomly. I was following coordinates given to me by someone I trusted. His golden eyes met hers. Someone told me this world was a sanctuary. A chill ran down Evelyn's spine. A trap. It appears so. Kaler's voice carried a weight of betrayal that made her heart ache. My people, we've been in hiding for generations. Only a few know where we are, and fewer still know our safe routes. Before Evelyn could respond, her ship's communication system crackled to life. A familiar voice filled the medical bay. Evelyn Carter, this is Director Marcus Webb of the Galactic Wildlife Preservation Agency. Please respond. Evelyn frowned. Webb was her handler, the one who'd given her this tracking assignment in the first place. She moved to the communication panel. Director Webb, this is Carter. I'm reading you. Thank the stars you're alive, Webb's voice sounded relieved. We received reports of hunter activity in your sector. Are you safe? Evelyn glanced at Kaler, who was listening intently. Something felt wrong about this conversation, but she couldn't put her finger on what. I'm safe, sir. But I need to report something significant. I found. Not over open channels, Webb interrupted quickly. Set course for Station Meridian. We'll debrief you properly there. The line went dead. Evelyn stared at the communication panel, unease growing in her stomach. You don't trust him, Kaler observed. I'm not sure. She turned back to the dragon. He's been my handler for 3 years. He's the one who sent me to track the energy signature that led me to you. Kaler's eyes narrowed. The energy signature that led the hunters to me as well. The pieces clicked together in Evelyn's mind like a horrible puzzle. He knew. He knew what I was tracking. And he knew where to send the hunters to find us both. Evelyn's hands clenched into fists. Son of a, she caught herself, focusing on the bigger picture. If Webb is compromised, then Station Meridian is a trap. Then where do we go? Kaler asked. Before she could answer, her ship's proximity alarms began blaring. On the main display, 3 sleek hunter vessels had dropped out of hyperspace, surrounding her small ship. This is Commander Sarah Voss of the Dragon Elimination Task Force, came a harsh voice over the communication system. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. The same hunter who had confronted them on the planet's surface. They found us too quickly, Evelyn muttered, her fingers flying over the navigation controls. Someone's been tracking us. Kaler struggled to sit up despite his injuries. Can this ship fight? It's a research vessel, not a warship. Evelyn's mind raced through their options. But I know these systems better than they do. She killed the main engines and let the ship drift, buying time to think. The hunter vessels closed in, expecting easy prey. Can you fly yet? She asked Kaler. Not well, but maybe short distances. Good, because I have an idea. She moved to the ship's secondary systems. I'm going to overload the main reactor. It'll look like a malfunction. That could kill us both. Trust me. She met his gaze. When I say go, get to the escape pod bay. I'll be right behind you. Her fingers worked frantically over the controls. The ship's systems began to fluctuate wildly, sending false readings to the hunter's sensors. What are they doing? Came Voss's voice over the comm. Reading massive power fluctuations, another voice replied. Their reactor's going critical. Pull back. If that thing explodes. Now. Evelyn shouted. She and Kaler raced through the ship's corridors as systems failed around them. The hunter vessels had pulled back to what they thought was a safe distance, giving them the opening they needed. They reached the escape pod just as the ship's reactor actually began to overload. Evelyn's simulation had become reality. Get in, she yelled, helping Kaler into the pod despite his size. They launched just as her ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The hunters, thinking both of them had died in the explosion, moved on to sweep for debris. Hidden among the wreckage, their small pod drifted undetected, its life support systems running on minimum power. Now what? Kaler whispered. Evelyn checked their position on the pod's minimal navigation system. Now we find out who we can really trust. And we make them pay for what they've done to your people. In the darkness of space, surrounded by the debris of her former ship, Evelyn Carter made a choice that would change everything. She would help Kaler find his people, and together, they would expose the conspiracy that had marked dragons for extinction. But first, they had to survive long enough to tell the story. The Last Haven. 3 days drifted by in the cramped escape pod before they were finally picked up by a salvage crew. Evelyn had convinced the salvagers that they were researchers whose ship had suffered a reactor malfunction, not entirely a lie. With Kaler hidden in the pod's cargo compartment, they managed to secure passage to a remote trade station on the galaxy's outer rim. The Nexus was exactly the kind of place where questions weren't asked and credits talked. Perfect for two fugitives trying to stay off the radar. In a dingy cantina tucked away in the station's lower levels, Evelyn nursed a drink while Kaler rested in their rented quarters. His injuries were healing faster than she'd expected. Apparently dragons had remarkable regenerative abilities, but he still needed time to recover his full strength. "You look troubled," came a gravelly voice beside her. Evelyn looked up to see an old spacer with weathered features and knowing eyes. Something about him seemed familiar, though she was certain they'd never met. "Just tired," she replied carefully. "Tired from running, I'd guess." The old man signaled the bartender for a drink. "Word travels fast out here. There's been chatter about someone making the dragon hunters look like fools." Evelyn's hand moved instinctively toward her sidearm. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Easy, young one." The spacer raised his hands peacefully. "The name's Captain Reeves. And before you ask, yes, I know what you're carrying." "How?" "Because 30 years ago, I was in your position. Found a wounded dragon, helped him escape the hunters." Reeves took a long drink. "That dragon was Kaler's father." Evelyn's blood ran cold. "His father? Draconess. Magnificent creature. Taught me more about honor and courage than any human ever did." Reeves' expression grew sad. "The hunters caught up with us eventually. I got away. He didn't." "I'm sorry," Evelyn said softly. "Don't be sorry. Be smart." Reeves leaned closer, lowering his voice. "The boy's injuries, they're healing fast, aren't they? That's because he's coming into his full power. When a dragon reaches maturity, they become something extraordinary. That's why the hunters are so desperate to eliminate them now." "What do you mean?" "Dragons aren't just intelligent creatures, girl. They're conduits for an ancient energy that flows through the galaxy itself. When they reach their prime, they can do things that would make the hunters' weapons look like toys." Evelyn thought about the way Kaler's blood had glowed, the power she'd sensed coiled within him. "The energy signature I was tracking. Was him coming into his birthright." Reeves finished his drink. "There's something else. The dragons aren't extinct. There's a hidden colony, a place they call the Last Haven. Kaler's father told me about it before he died." Hope flared in Evelyn's chest. "Where?" "That's the problem. The location dies with each generation unless it's passed down properly. Kaler might know, or he might not. But if he does..." Reeves stood up. "The hunters will do anything to stop him from reaching it." As if summoned by their conversation, Kaler appeared at the cantina entrance. His wounds had healed remarkably well, and there was something different about him, a strength and presence that hadn't been there before. "Evelyn," he called out, then stopped as he saw Reeves. Recognition flashed in his golden eyes. "You. I know your scent." "Hello, young prince," Reeves said with a slight bow. "You look like your father." You knew him. I failed him, Reeves said simply. I won't fail you. Before anyone could respond, the cantina's lights flickered and died. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Through the transparent steel windows, Evelyn could see hunter ships docking with the station. They found us, she breathed. Not us, Kaler said, his voice carrying new resonance. Me. They can track my energy signature now that it's fully awakened. Reeves grabbed Evelyn's arm. My ship is docked on level 7. If we move fast. No, Kaler interrupted, power radiating from him like heat from a forge. I'm tired of running. Kaler, you can't fight them all, Evelyn protested. I don't have to fight them all, he replied, his eyes beginning to glow with golden light. I just have to get us out of here. The dragon's transformation was breathtaking and terrifying. His human-like form began to shift and grow, scales rippling across his skin as his true draconic nature asserted itself. The cramped cantina suddenly felt impossibly small. The last haven, he said, his voice now a deep rumble. I remember the way. My father's memories are awakening with my power. Then let's go, Evelyn said, checking her weapon. As hunter teams swept through the station, the unlikely trio fought their way to Reeves' ship. Kaler's newfound abilities proved devastating against the hunters, not lethal, but overwhelming enough to clear their path. They launched just as the station's security forces arrived, adding to the chaos. In the confusion, one old smuggler's ship slipped away unnoticed, carrying the last hope for an entire species toward a destination lost to legend. But Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. If the last haven truly existed, it would be the final battleground between dragons and those who sought their extinction. And this time, there would be nowhere left to run. Galaxy's new dawn. The coordinates led them to what appeared to be empty space, a void between star systems where nothing should exist. But as Kaler guided Reeves' ship deeper into the region, reality began to shimmer and shift around them. It's a fold in spacetime, Kaler explained, his voice filled with wonder as childhood memories surfaced. My people's greatest achievement. An entire world hidden from the galaxy. The ship passed through what felt like a curtain of energy, and suddenly they emerged into a system that defied explanation. A pristine world hung before them, surrounded by floating islands that drifted through space like massive gardens. And everywhere, dragons soared between them, dozens of them, their scales catching the light of twin suns. By the stars, Reeves whispered. As they approached the main world, Evelyn could see cities that blended seamlessly with nature, their architecture flowing like living things. It was beautiful beyond imagination, and heartbreaking to think it might be all that remained of an ancient civilization. Their ship was met by a patrol of dragons who escorted them to a landing platform. The moment they touched down, Kaler was surrounded by his people, dragons of every size and color, their joy at his return palpable. An elder dragon, her scales silver with age, approached them. Young Kaler, she said, her voice carrying the weight of years. We felt your awakening across the void. You have brought visitors. I have brought friends, Kaler replied. Without them, I would have died, and the hunters would have learned nothing of our location. The elder's ancient eyes studied Evelyn and Reeves. Humans who risk themselves for dragons. How the galaxy has changed. Not enough, Evelyn said, finding her voice. The hunters aren't going to stop. They're backed by someone powerful, someone who wants your people extinct. We know, the elder replied sadly. We have watched, hidden, as our children were hunted one by one. But what can we do? We are few, and they are many. You're wrong about that, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Director Webb stepping from behind one of the dragon sculptures. But something was wrong, his eyes held a malevolent gleam that Evelyn had never seen before. How, she began. How did I find this place? Webb smiled coldly. Simple. I let you lead me here. Every ship has trackers, Miss Carter. Even stolen ones. Reeves cursed under his breath as hunter ships began dropping out of hyperspace around the hidden world. Dozens of them, more than Evelyn had ever seen in one place. You see, Webb continued, dragons aren't just valuable for their bodies. They're conduits for an energy that could power entire civilizations, or destroy them. My employers have plans for that power. Your employers? Evelyn demanded. The Syndicate of Worlds has been preparing for a new age of expansion. Dragon energy could fuel faster-than-light travel beyond anything we've imagined. But first, we need to control the source. The elder dragon's eyes blazed with fury. You would enslave us. I would utilize you, Webb corrected. Those who cooperate will live. Those who resist. He shrugged. That's when Kaler stepped forward, power radiating from him like a solar flare. You misunderstand something fundamental about dragons, human. The air around him began to shimmer with energy. Other dragons throughout the landing area began to respond, their own power awakening in resonance with his. We are not just conduits for galactic energy, Kaler continued, his voice building to a roar that shook the ground. We are the energy. We are the living will of the cosmos itself. What happened next was beyond anything Evelyn could have imagined. The dragons didn't fight the hunter ships with weapons, they sang. A harmonic vibration that resonated through space itself, touching every living thing in the system. The hunter ships simply stopped. Their engines died, their weapons powered down, their crews overwhelmed by a sense of peace they'd never experienced. Impossible, Webb breathed. Not impossible, the elder dragon said gently. Natural. The galaxy is tired of war, young human. It yearns for harmony. We dragons are simply giving it a voice. On ships throughout the system, hunter crews began laying down their weapons. The song of the dragons had awakened something in them, a memory of what the galaxy could be if beings chose cooperation over conquest. Webb reached for his weapon, but Evelyn was faster. Her shot stunned him before he could draw. It's over, she said. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy learned the truth about dragons and the conspiracy to eliminate them. The Syndicate of Worlds fell as member systems, inspired by the dragon's song, chose peace over expansion. The last haven became a symbol of hope, a place where different species could coexist and learn from each other. Evelyn found herself appointed as the first human ambassador to the dragon colonies, working to rebuild trust between species. As she stood on a floating garden platform, watching Kaler teach young dragons to fly, she reflected on how a simple tracking mission had changed everything. Regrets? Reeves asked, joining her at the platform's edge. None, she replied. Sometimes saving one life really can save the galaxy. And sometimes, Kaler said, landing beside them with grace that took her breath away, friendship is the most powerful force in the universe. As the twin suns set over the last haven, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Evelyn smiled. The galaxy had found its voice again, and it was singing a song of hope. The end.